Though the title of the session talks about higher education opportunities in the international soil, I'm not actually going to be focusing on various countries. The reason is very simple. This is a program that is specifically targeted at those who are preparing for GRE, which obviously means that you have already taken a decision on which country you are going to go to. However, having said that, there would be a seminar which I would be conducting, a session I would conduct where I will be talking about various countries and the pros and cons of that. Why? Because whether you will be going to US or not is not a function of whether you wish to go to US or not. It is also a function of how good you can make your application. So if you are able to get a good GRE score, which is what I'm sure you intend to do, and which is exactly what we intend to achieve as well, then going to US actually makes sense. But if you don't, then is US the right place? Is US the right country? Is US the land of opportunities? Then that is going to be a question mark because of President Trump, of course, all right? But this is something which I would be taking up in that session. This session is on GRE, therefore I'll be focusing more on what you need to be doing to get a good score in GRE. I'll also be talking about few FAQs, the frequently asked questions which students tend to oversee. Why do I say that? Because understanding of that will not just help you get a good score, it will also bring a better focus to the vision that you are creating for yourself of going to the right country, going and joining the right college and then doing the right course so as to help you get the right career. Alright. Now with this background, let me quickly start with one question. You will notice the fact that there's an in-class quiz that has just come, and the question that I have asked for you here is one of the basic questions that people ask me. Which of the three exams is the easiest? Is it the GRE, is it CAT or GATE? Now, in case you do not know me, my name is Abdullah and I did write my GATE when I was in my final year of engineering. I got All India rank 17, joined Indian Institute of Science Bangalore for my masters. I have also written CAT. I did my MBA from India, Gurgaon, and yes, I have also written my GRE. I have 335 out of 314 GRE. But in spite of the fact that I have actually written these three exams, if I were to pose a question, which of the three is the toughest? I'm going to be requesting you to just scroll a little bit and look at this question and press what you believe is the right answer. Now, quite often I get students who talk about GRE, and the reason they talk about GRE is because they believe GRE is the easiest of the three. Is it really so? Frankly, if you were to ask me, the answer is yes and no. Frankly, GRE is not very easy. I'm sure you have many of your seniors, your own friends, and maybe you yourself have given GRE one attempt earlier. You'll realize the fact that you probably did not score as high as what you expected to be. That's because you went probably with the wrong assumption that GRE is easy. GRE is not an easy exam. But then why did I also say yes? I also said yes because getting an admission through GRE is actually much easier than getting an admission through CAT and getting an admission through GATE. If you were to look at it, the number of colleges, good colleges that we talk about, which one can join after cracking GATE is so less that in case you don't get into the top 100 in India, then possibly you will not make it to the college of your choice. And unfortunately, after the best comes the rest. And the gap between the best and the rest is so huge that if you fail to get into the top 100 in GATE, and end up a little on the wrong side of that 100, you'll probably end up in the rest, which is not worth it. So the reason why GATE becomes tough is because the lesser number of colleges that you have, good colleges. CAT, yes, it has more number of good MBA schools. Having said that, you still have to be among the top 2,000, 3,000 to make it into good colleges of MBA. Now in GRE, thankfully, because GRE is an examination that is taken by United States of America, and let's not forget US colleges are huge, both in intake as well as in numbers. What happens is your chance of getting into a very decent college actually is much higher. So that is a reason why GRE actually is considered to be the easiest of the three exams. But remember what I said, for you the business is to score as high as possible, and for you to do so, GRE is therefore not going to be a simple exam because idea is not to score any score. Idea is to score a good score. because a good score basically will give you an entry into a good college. And I keep saying, for your right career, 3 C's are important: right country, right college, and right course. And for you to get into the right college as well as the right country, a good score of GRE is required. Alright, so the answer is GRE, yes, but let's also understand why that is the case. I'm going to be broadcasting one more question. The whole idea of the session here is basically to see that you people are not just getting an idea of what you're preparing for, but also to expose you to the challenges that you're going to face. Alright, so the question is, the main difference between GRE and GMAT is that the former is for MS and the latter for MBA. Is that a fact? Now, many of us are engineers, and one of the reasons why we are engineers is because we were told that engineering has an opportunity. The beauty is, most of us probably today realize that we should not have been engineers. Alright? The beauty is, therefore, if you really want to move out of the engineering field, you want to go to MBA, is it that I have to write GMAT, or can I get into an MBA school through GRE? The answer is, you can get into the MBA school through GRE too. The beauty that you need to understand is the fact that for you to get into an MBA school, you don't need to get a GMAT. Most of the top colleges, in fact, most means quite a few, including Harvard, Columbia. If you look at even India, we talk about Indian School of Business, they do accept GRE as an entrance examination for their MBA. In fact, if you are a person who is not interested in doing your MS in engineering, you can also start looking at other programs like MS in finance, MS in management. You have MS in MIS, Management Information System. You have choices. And for all these choices, you can actually take advantage of a good score in GRE. So do bear in mind that it is not that GRE is an examination that is taken by people who are preparing for MS, while GMAT is an examination that is taken by people who are preparing for MBA. That is not actually true. So many of you people actually got that answer right, which is true. The main difference between GRE and GMAT is that former is for MS and later for MBA is a false one. Let's look at one more question before we start looking at little more widely. Alright, I'm just broadcasting this question. It has just been broadcasted. Please answer to that. The question that I'm going to address now is MS a degree that is given in US while MTech is a degree that is given in India? Quite often when I ask the difference between MS and MTech, apart from the basic answer I get that MS is about Master of Science and MTech is about Master of Technology, as if I didn't know that. One of the very common answers I get is that MS is US and MTech is in India. Now, is that true or is that false? Now, that's a question. So, this session is all about knowing what you can do with your GRE. It's also about knowing what you need to do to make GRE a very powerful tool to improve your career. Alright, so let me go back to this question. The question was, is MS a degree that we get abroad and MTech a degree that we get in India? Majority of you have said true. The answer is false. India also gives MS. If you go to IITs, for example, you can get MTech in a program, you can also get MS in a program. If you go to Indian Institute of Science Bangalore, ditto. If you go to IIT Bangalore, IIT Hyderabad, you will probably find MS more preferred than MTech. The difference between MS and MTech is that MS is more research oriented, MTech is more application oriented. Unfortunately, India is not very strong at research, and therefore the toppers of GATE prefer MTech. People who do not end up getting admissions in top colleges for MTech do sometimes compromise and go for MS. But having said that, the new age universities like Indian Institute of Technology, Hyderabad, Bangalore, etc., which are investing heavily on the research side, the best of the best programs are actually MS programs. Now, why am I telling you this? One, of course, is that you should know that MS and MTech is not about which geography you are doing your higher education in. The second thing is, when you have decided that you want to go abroad, especially through GRE to US or probably Canada, then what you need to understand is you need to set your profile in such a way that it gives an idea that you are actually research inclined. Having said that, be aware of the fact that there are two programs in US as well. One is a thesis oriented MS, the other is non-thesis. Now, thesis oriented one is little more stringent in research. People generally prefer that when they go for their PhD. Now, if you have decided that post you have finished your masters, you want to actually join the job, you will probably go for non-thesis, but my recommendation is apply for thesis. Keep the options open. US is a fantastic country if you are especially joining the workforce even after doing your masters in the area of research. Therefore, a person with MS thesis will always have a more number of options, and you need to keep that option. Don't be too much worried about, look, you don't know what is research, look, you are not sure whether you'll be good at research. My point is very simple. People have done it, so can you. Alright? Now, I am going to ask one more question. This is a question that I am throwing because I do not know how many of you actually know me. So, this question is actually about how many of you actually know me, alright? And how do you know me? So, do go ahead. There are 5 choices I have given. Please do mark that. Profiles matter. I'm sure you know of what is SOP or Statement of Purpose, a very important document that you need to be designing to strengthen your application to get into the right college. Now, I help students build that by improving their profile, and I also attempt a lot to send the students to the best of the best colleges that they deserve. The reason is very simple. Something I keep telling my students, your idea is not just to go to a foreign country, your idea is to settle there, and to settle there you need a work visa, and to get a work visa you need a minimum salary, and to get a minimum salary you need to go to the right college. So that is something which I do. Now that's all my background. Yes, I have also given my GRE, I have 335 in GRE, I have 740 in GMAT too. But having said all this, probably things which I'm trying to impress you guys with, let me also quickly add, I have 10th class 60%, 12th class 66%. I'm not very intelligent, I'm hardworking. What I lack in my intelligence, I make up in hard work, and GRE is an exam of hard work. So I really hope that whatever be your background, whether you have a lot of backlogs, whether you have percentages less, don't give up hope, because GRE is actually going to help you go up, improve your profile tremendously if, of course, you get a good score in GRE. Alright. Now, having said that, let me go back to understanding how you know me. Now, majority of you actually know me because you also attended my classes. Alright, that's a good thing. Alright. Now, if you were to scroll down a little bit, you will realize that I have just given another question for you. Do have a look at it and give me an answer. The question is very simple. Is GRE compulsory for admission to MS program in the US? Now, quite often, I'm sure you're aware of the fact that there are quite a few colleges in United States of America which are great colleges. But at the same time, there are quite a few colleges which are also useless colleges. Education is a business, alright? And there's no shame in that, but you as students will therefore know where you need to invest your money and time in. Now, I'm sure you also know the fact that the colleges which are on the low end don't necessarily demand GRE. You, of course, don't have an option. You have to write TOEFL or IELTS. That's more a visa requirement. But is GRE compulsory? Now, let me change this question a little bit. Is GRE compulsory for you to get into the best of the best colleges in US? Answer is not necessarily. I give you an example of MIT. MIT does not insist on GRE. So, and MIT is Massachusetts Institute of Technology, not Madras Institute or Manipal Institute of Technology, alright? But having said that, if you were to remove MIT, you will realize the fact that most of the good colleges in the US will insist on GRE. Not just that, colleges which do not insist on GRE actually say that if you do have a GRE, and the way the sentence starts is, GRE is not mandatory, but if you do have GRE, you will have an edge. So, for all of you who are aspiring to get a good score in GRE, and obviously that's the reason why you will be here right now, fight on, because it helps. Now, how much? That is something that I will ask as I go forward, alright? Now, before I go forward, there is one more thing that I would like to throw at. What are we doing? I strongly believe the fact that hard work is the essence of everything. Now, let's not make GRE into IIT JEE. IIT JEE is an examination of knowledge, it's an examination of intelligence, but GRE is more an examination of hard work. Our whole attempt here is basically to get faculty members. For example, I will be joined by Deepthi. She herself has 313 GRE. She has an admit in Harvard and Columbia Universities, invitation from both these colleges for doing her masters. She'll be supporting me in verbal. Sumant, who will also be supporting me in verbal on the vocabulary front, is a student from IIM Kozhikode. Aditya Lanka would be helping me in quant. He will be one of the other faculty members. This gentleman is a guy who has 339 in GRE. I really don't know how he lost that one mark. And he himself has done his MBA from IIM Calcutta, and he was working in Bloomberg, New York for quite a few years. Sashank, he would be also helping, especially in the reading comprehension side of verbal. He is a IIT Hyderabad, IIM Calcutta grad. He was working with ITC. And Verma, who is an SP Jain grad, SP Jain, I'm sure you're aware, is one of the top colleges in MBA. He worked with ISRO for quite some time, and he will also be supporting me in quant. Now, this is the set of team that will be doing this. What we are trying to do in ConduiraOnline is basically to understand the right time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be broadcasting one more question. This is more to understand you people a little more. So do have a look at the in-section quiz, in-class quiz, which basically asks a simple question. If you're keen on attending this session, which one would you prefer? Would it be weekdays or weekend? And if it is weekdays, would it be morning or evening? Alright, go ahead and mark that up. Meanwhile, let me continue with my session. As I said, GRE is not a very essential element for MIT, yes, but it is an essential element for all the other top colleges. Therefore, you need to see to it that you are scoring high in GRE. Now, what we will be doing as a part of this live prep is teach you the theory of it and then do a lot of practice. Now, if you notice this in-class session, it is something that we have brought in. This is a technology that has been developed by ConduiraOnline itself. We have brought experts from quite a few companies like Google's and Accenture's who are working in our Madhapur office in Hyderabad. They have come together to build this platform. Now, ConduiraOnline platform uses a lot of artificial intelligence as well, basically to help you identify your areas of weaknesses and then bring that to your notice so that you can spend your time productively addressing those rather than addressing an area which either is your area of strength already or an area where you don't really need to invest because it's not important from the GRE perspective. Okay, so our idea is therefore to have this as a regular feature, live online prep, and that is why this question is so that we understand when exactly we would be doing this as a program. Alright, now most of you people have actually said that late night weekend sessions would be a preferred, which obviously is going to be a little biased statistically because this is actually late night and this is actually weekday. So majority obviously attending this session would obviously talk about that as a preference. But nevertheless, thank you so much for answering that. I'm going to be asking one more question that was regarding when. This is regarding time, because we are also trying to discover when it would be right for you, because at the end of the day you people are either students in the colleges or you are people who are working professionals. So when is the right time? Weekday for all those James Bonds who are into weekday. It's a split decision. Majority of you people are actually split. So yes, our team will actually be looking at these data points to decide on that. Alright, now I'm going to be asking for one more question, is to understand what is the most preferred. So in case it is going to be on weekend, then what would be the preferred time? That is exactly the question that I have asked for here. Let's go back to GRE. Now, normally people who look at GRE basically come because they have decided that they wish to go to US. But the question is US the only country which looks at GRE? Is US the only country which demands GRE? Now, obviously, if you have been listening to me carefully, you would realize that I did mention that Indian School of Business Hyderabad also looks at GRE. So the answer obviously is that US is not the only country. But what are the other countries we are talking about? Now, that is one. The second question that I'm going to be basically asking for is, I'm broadcasting this question. This is going to be a very important question because it covers a lot of concept. Is GRE also accepted by MBA schools? Again, I believe I have answered that. I did talk about the fact that Harvard, Columbia's and various other things including Indian School of Business accepted. For MS program in STEM, quantitative reasoning session is given higher weightage. Is it true or false? Now, this question basically covers few important concepts because people actually don't understand what they have to fight for. So now let me take one by one these points. Number one, GRE is also accepted by other countries other than US. Answer is yes. US, Canada, quite a few in Europe accept GRE. Leading colleges in Singapore will demand for GRE. So yes, if you do get a good score in GRE, you actually widen the number of colleges that you can attack. And when I say colleges, I'm not talking about only colleges, but I'm talking about countries as well. GRE is also accepted by MBA school. That is something which I did talk about earlier too. You can apply for MBAs in the top colleges both in India as well as in US. Now for MS program in STEM, for people who do not know STEM, I'm sure you're aware it's science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Quantitative reasoning section is given higher weightage. Now for people who have done initial research in GRE, you're aware of the fact that we have quantitative reasoning and verbal reasoning. 170 marks for quantitative, 170 marks for verbal, making it 340 overall. Is it a fact that quantitative reasoning is given more weightage? Go to any college, go to college's website and read thoroughly. It will say that the quantitative reasoning marks will be given more weightage. For God's sake, of course. You are going to be an engineer. You are doing your MS, and MS, obviously maths is given more weightage than verbal. But quite often when we are preparing for it, in our mind it's always verbal, vocab. We forget the fact that yes, we need to fight for that, but not at a cost of quantitative reasoning. So I'm going to be talking about two very important things. Point number one, understand. The fact of the matter is, most of us Indians, engineering background guys, we are good in maths. So why is verbal more important? It is important because everyone cracks quantitative reasoning. So if everyone is cracking and you are not cracking, then you are cracked. Alright? So you need to score as high as possible in quantitative reasoning. But the beauty is there are quite a few Indians who end up scoring as high as possible in quantitative reasoning. When I say Indians, please understand, it's not, your competition is not limited only to Indians, even Chinese are very good at maths. So when everyone is like that, or most of us are like that, then how does a tiebreaker take place? Verbal comes into the picture. Of course, your other rest of the profile is also material. Therefore, both QR, quantitative reasoning, and verbal reasoning become important. But the fact of the matter is, let us say tomorrow you write GRE twice. And in both these times you get 305. Yes, you attempted the second time thinking that, look, I will be able to, improve on that. And unfortunately, that does not happen. But the breakup of the 3-5 is different. In the one test, you have higher score in QR, and the other one, you have higher score in VR. And if you do have to choose which of the two scores to go to the one with higher score in QR. Because it's a fact that QR will be more preferred. Alright, so do bear that in mind. So answer of this would be all of the above, which would be the right answer here. I am going to be asking one more question. Again, the whole idea of this in-class session is to make it interactive and also try to understand where you stand. The question is, how high is the weightage of GRE in application? Is it very high? Is it high? It is average? It is low? Well, this is actually a bit of a tricky question. The fact of the matter is, the good thing about developed countries, including United States of America, is the fact that they don't penalize you just because you get screwed in one area. Unfortunately, India is. In India, if you have messed up your academics, then you are typecast as an idiot. But thankfully, that is changing in India too. But the fact of the matter is, in US, even if your ACADS is not as good, but you have something else, or other things which are impressive, you might still end up getting admission in the best of the best colleges. So, how relevant is GRE? How good is GRE? The fact of the matter is, GRE will help you improve your profile. So fight for it. But do understand the fact that if you are looking for the best of the best colleges, then you need a good score in GRE, because your competition will have a good score in GRE. Once you are applying to the best of the best colleges where everyone has a good score, then your profile becomes important. That is where SOPs and all other things which I will be talking about later in some other seminar or a session become important too. But yes, when a student comes to me and saying that I need this, this college, I only ask, what is your GRE score? If the GRE score is much below what we know is the go, no go for the college, I say, I'm sorry sweetheart, you probably would have to compromise a little bit. So that is something that you need to bear in mind. It is very important, yes, but appreciate the fact that when you start looking at better colleges, then apart from a good GRE score, you need to have a decent enough profile too. Having said that, if you have a good profile and you have a GRE score which is a little less, can you still make it into a good college? Answer is yes. As I said, these colleges are not going to select you only on basis of one small area. They are going to look at you holistically. So do concentrate on GRE, but along with that, carry your profile together too. Okay, Now, one more area people generally ignore is AVA, analytical writing. You have quantitative reasoning, you have verbal reasoning, totally summing up to 340, 170 plus 170. But apart from that, you also have AVA, which is analytical writing, where you have to write 2 essays and you are scored in a scale of 0 to 6. 0 means you are an idiot, 6 means you are a James Bond, of course. Okay. Now, is it important? Because quite often whenever I ask GRE score, people generally tend to talk about the score with the 340, no one talks about AVA. So the question here is AVA important for MS admission? Majority of you people have actually said that yes, it is of immense value in the application form. Now, is it really true? Answer is not really, right? Let me put it this way. AVA is important, but you don't need to get 6 out of 6 in AVA. Most of the colleges will, especially for MS program, will ask about 4 to 4.5, and there are quite a few colleges which will be okay with 3.52. Sometimes I have students who get lesser than 3.5, then I say yes, you have to write your GRE again, even if you have a very good score, because as I said, minimum is required. And why is that? Because when you go to US, when you one of the curriculum thing there is where you need to write papers, research papers. Therefore, obviously, writing skills is important. But if you don't have a very good score in AVA, let's say you are little lesser, can you still make it up? Answer is yes. Generally, I take the help of SOP, the statement of purpose, where I do talk about the writing skills marks of IELTS or TOEFL. So you can use that as a way of compensating for a fall in AVA. But if you are a person interested in getting research assistantship, if you are a person applying for PhD, not Master MS, then AVA is of paramount importance. Get 5, get 5.5. Yes, you will get a good admit if everything else is great. So do remember, for research assistantship, for a PhD, you need to have a good score of AVA. But in MS, having a good score helps, but having a poor score will dump you out. Also yes, but if you are okay with 4, 4.5, then colleges are also okay with that to a large extent. So if a good score is defined as one that can get you to a top 50 schools of your specialization in US, what would be the range of a good school? Now, top 50 is not a joke. None of the Indian schools actually come as good as the top 50 that you'll get in US, alright? And when I say that, I talk about the best of the best Indian students of Bangalore as well. So top 50 is not a joke, but there are quite a few of my own students who are there in these top colleges, and most of these guys don't necessarily come from top colleges like IITs or with a lot of research research experience. So remember what I generally do say to, if they can, you can. So the question here is, what is the score that is required for you to get into it? Now, I'm sure majority of you would say the higher the better, that's a fact. But what is the minimum? What is the floor? Now, I'm going to be strongly encouraging all of you people who are participating here to actually participate, because as I said, it will help us understand. And all of you people who have actually joined us a little late, I'm going to strongly recommend you people to write hi, mention just a small word like hi in the discussion forum, which is at the bottom of this page. Okay, let me see what majority of you people have said. Quite a few of you people have said it depends. My answer would be it depends. You are right. Let me put it this way. The median score in best of the best colleges is somewhere around 315 to 320. Now it is going increasing because of late the competition has increased. But if you do get 315, 320, then you have a very good chance of getting into the best of the best colleges in US, provided you have the right profile. It obviously becomes stronger, which is your application form becomes much more stronger if you have a higher GRE score. Last quarter I had a student of mine with 339, so there are people who are James Bonds, alright? And remember again, not necessarily coming from a background which is James Bondish. So again, if they can, you can. But coming back to the point I was talking about, therefore if you do have a higher score, it helps. But then, is it always 315? Answer is no. If you are coming from pharma background, if you are coming from a dentistry background, remember GRE is not an exam only for mathematical guys. GRE is also an exam for non-mathematics students. GRE is an exam for journalists. GRE is an exam for people who are going to become doctors. And most of these people probably come from non-mathematical background, and believe me, for them quantitative reasoning of GRE is not a simple thing. So obviously, if you are of that category, you'll probably get a lower score in that. But should you worry about it? Answer is no. You know why? Because you are competing against others who are also coming from less maths background. So for a pharma student, for a medical doctor, probably 300 and 305 itself is a very good score. So always understand, to define a good score, look at the competition. And if you are aspiring for a better college, obviously the competition is going to be much more fardu, and therefore the GRE score need is high. But if you are looking at MS in engineering program, and if you can get 315, get it and come and let me show you how to get into the best of the best colleges, alright? So do remember that aspect as well. Okay, now let me see how much you know about GRE. Alright, this time we are talking about the pattern of a GRE. There are 4 points, one of which probably is wrong, and if it's wrong, you'll mark that. And if you believe none of these are wrong, then you'll obviously mark the 5th one. Alright, first section is AWA. Answer is yes. First section is always going to be AWA. Alright, now let's see what else we have. Your next section could be either quantitative reasoning or verbal reasoning. Answer is yes, it could be either this or that, and no, you don't get to select it, it's a matter of luck. Your last section is going to be experimental section. There is a concept of experimental section. So you have AWA, then you will have 2 sections of quantitative reasoning, 2 sections of verbal reasoning mashed like this. You will not know which one starts first. But apart from that, there is going to be a 5th section. And when I say 5th, I am excluding ABA, of course, which is going to be an experimental section. And will you know about it? Answer is no. And the fact is, you don't even know which one is the experimental section. So the last section is an experimental section, is actually a wrong one. Experimental section is a section which will not be evaluated for you, but the performance of you would help them understand which question is the right question for the GRE to continue happening. So they produce new questions, they put in experimental section, and if they find the fact that students are generally getting confused, they will dump it. If they find that the question is good, statistically they will start including that in the main section later. That is what is experimental section. The pity is you don't know which one is what. So from your perspective, every section is an important question. GRE is a sectional adaptive. Answer is yes, GRE is a sectional adaptive. What does sectional adaptive mean? First section will come simpler. Let us say in quantitative reasoning, it will come on an average level. Now if you screw up, the next section will be easier. If you do well, the next section is going to be tougher. Bear that in mind. The point that you need to understand is that if the next section comes to be simpler, it's a bad news, because it means you screwed up the first section. Why is it a bad news? Because though the second section is going to be simpler and you probably will get more questions right, your increase in marks will not be so much. Therefore, first section is always going to be more important than the second section. But if you are aiming high, both the sections are obviously important. So GRE is sectional adaptive. Alright. So do bear that in mind, but the last section is not the experimental section. So answer should have been 3. Okay, I have one more question for you. This pertains to today's session. Again, I am trying to understand what are the challenges that you have faced. So the question is, what was the most frustrating technical problem you have encountered towards today's session? Of course, my mind and my heart prays that it's not the above. But then if you are facing a problem and we can help you not face the same problem in the next session, then we will do whatever we can. That's the reason why I am asking you this. Are you having a problem that the page is loading slow? Are you having a problem with the audio? Are you having a problem with the video? Or is it the fact that you love this big time, alright? But yes, give us a little bit of flexibility, because remember, this is a new technology that we have embraced. This is a new experiment that we are doing. And it is aimed at making things perfect as we go by. But yes, issue is an issue. Please do highlight, and believe me, we'll work very hard to address that issue. Okay, so I really hope there are people who have split between page being low or slow. We'll do something about it, but thankfully there are quite a few who say that everything is okay too. Alright, a few more things, because this is one very interactive one. We will be therefore interacting with you quite often. The reason is very simple. The idea is to help you outside the classroom as well. So we probably will be using SMSs and WhatsApp or email. So what would you prefer? What is that you generally use? Don't worry, we will not be sending you junk, but yes, we will be sending you updates on the homework that is given, or the updates on assignments, as I said earlier too, or even updates on a few things on the important developments which are happening, because the world is going crazy. There are a lot of policy changes that are happening across the countries, US, Australia, New Zealand, UK, the Brexit is screwing things up. So you should actually be knowing of these things. Yes, I do make it a point to write regular blogs, which probably till you finalize which country you are going to go to, you should be keeping a tab on. Till you go to the country and settle down, you should keep a tab on, alright? So the question is very simple. Which would be your preferred mode of communication? Now, we would, basically again, the idea is to understand you a little more. Okay, thank you so much. Now, let us look at one more question. Sounds a little silly and stupid, but it is important that we understand you better. Which is a tougher section in GRE? Verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, or analytical writing? Now, even as I press this to broadcast this, my mind says I know the answer. But I just mentioned one more important element earlier in my session, that quantitative reasoning idea is to score as high as possible, preferably score full marks. The reason is most of the colleges will give more weightage for QR than VR. But I'm rushing to highlight what I said earlier again. Most of the good colleges, most of the students would have scored well in QR. Therefore, your business to break the tie break is to score well in VR too. Alright, so analytical writing is important, yes, but it is important more for the PhDs and all that. Remember that. Okay, how am I going to help you improve your English? Because as I said, I am one of the verbal faculty members for this program. This question is for you. If you are a beginner to the world of vocabulary, wherein you come across a word you do not know, you should refer to the dictionary. This is the best way of improving your vocabulary. Is it true? Is it false? Is it depends? I've seen students, the moment they start thinking about GRE, they go rush either to download a dictionary or to buy a dictionary. I'm not sure how many of you actually sleep with the dictionary under your bed or your pillow, hoping that few words will actually permeate to your mind. And if that works, please let me know. I'll probably be using that for myself too. But is it really a good idea to rush to a dictionary every time you come across a word you do not know? Answer is no. Don't do that. Especially for a beginner who is not too much into reading habit, it will make reading boring. My suggestion is very simple. If you really want to learn, what you should be doing is, you should learn by reading. But that is true only if you have too much time. If you are already in the examination mode, you are into the GRE mode, then you need to probably follow the methods that I will be using. I use methods like grouping, I use methods like looking and understanding the words through stories, range method, quite a few methods that we talk about. Now, if you have not attended any of my sessions earlier or seen my videos, do go to the YouTube page of ours and have a look at that. That reminds me, please do subscribe to our YouTube page too, because we will be constantly updating that with new set of videos there. What I am going to suggest is very simple. If you have too much time, start reading. Don't start reading Chetan Bhagat. I mean, he's a fantastic storyteller, but language is too simple, alright? Let's not forget, you're not preparing for a low exam, you're preparing for GRE, which is a high level exam. Now, if you do come across a word, don't rush to a dictionary. As I said, your interest will be killed. Try to understand the meaning of the word through context. Now, as you go on reading more and more, probably there will be a few words which you will find coming again and again. It's only those words for which you need to go to a dictionary. But the beauty is, probably you don't need to go to a dictionary, because having seen these words so many times, you probably by then understand the meaning of the word. Now, this is what is skill building. I've seen students who read the newspaper for the first time, they start underlining every word they don't know, then they go to the dictionary, they buy a notebook, they start writing everything, all that fun evaporates after 3-4 days. And after that, newspaper is nothing else. Not a good idea. But yes, do read the newspaper. The Hindu is beautiful, Deccan Chronicle is beautiful, Indian Express is beautiful. Do make it a point to read editorials of this to help you improve. But all that is done only if you have too much time. If you don't have too much time, then you have to be in the examination mode. There has to be a sense of urgency. Do make it a point to watch our videos. ConduiraOnline, you will find a lot of videos on vocabulary. You have to use our GRELivePrep app to understand how to learn words effectively. And of course, you would be joining us in this GRELivePrep and understanding how to fall in love with words. Okay, I am not actually surprised when it comes to this answer that quite a few of you have played diplomatically, gone for answer as depends. That reminds me, that tells me one thing: next time no depends as a choice, alright? For getting a good score in quantitative reasoning session, you should do a systematic practice chapter by chapter. Is that the right way? Is that the way we will advocate you to get full marks or good marks in quantitative reasoning? Now that's a question for you. True, false, depends. Now again, don't be a diplomat here. We are not politicians sitting here. So would you go for true? Would you go for false? Would you go for depends? True. I would have gone for depends. I'm going to be diplomatic here. Alright, let me put it this way. If you are a person who is weak in maths, if you are a person whose background, the foundation in maths is not very good, yes, please go in a very systematic order. But if you are a person who is good in maths, don't waste your time going in a systematic order. You people already have the right skills. All that you need to do is understand the type of question that GRE tests. The style of question that GRE tests is very, very different from what is tested in other exams, and that is something Aditya Lanka, my colleague who will be taking this, and Verma will be helping you, understand. But when you start writing the test, you make mistakes, you get screwed. Look at the solution and then you learn from it and don't repeat the mistake. That would be the most preferred way. If you look at the ConduiraOnline platform, where our recommendation engine basically does is basically understand which areas you are weak and then matches with which areas are important from the GRE and then throws, or this is the test that you need to write. Use all that intelligence. When machine can think, why the shit should we? That should be your way forward. So write more test. Understand which area you are weak and then tackle that. You don't need to necessarily go in a very systematic order. We are no more in the 10th class or 8th class or 7th class or 5th class. We need to understand which one to attack, which one not to. But yes, for people who are weak in maths, do go in a systematic order. It will help you bring a little bit of structure. Okay, a few more questions on GRE. How much do you know? How many times can one write GRE in a year? Now there are 365 days. You have 2 slots. So can I write 365 into 2? 730, is that the answer? Answer is obviously no. Depends on how rich I am, because let's not forget it's a very expensive exam, and if your father and mother, parents, your grandparents are very, very rich, send me the donations, alright? Don't waste your time, waste your money just like that. Alright, how many times can one write an exam in a year? 3 choices I have given you. Quite a few people have actually marked it right. You have said 5. 5 is the maximum number of attempts that ETS allows for GRE. But I generally tell my students not more than 2, because if you are not been able to improve your score in the second attempt, then post that, the improvement actually is very, very marginal. It's not worth investing your money. I am going to be asking one more question. Let this be the last question for the day, a question that you needed to be actually thinking. The question is basically this: how long are the GRE scores valid? 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, depends upon the school. Ladies and gentlemen, the answer is 5 years as per ETS, but quite a few colleges insist that GRE score should not be much older than 2 years or max 3 years. So the answer would be the 4th one, depends upon the school. Do bear that in mind. It is not that you can keep it for 5 years though ETS allows. Good colleges will demand for 2 to 3 years at the max. Alright, let me throw one more question. This is a question which you probably should be able to answer now. If I take GRE again and my scores fall compared to the previous attempt, am I at a disadvantage? It's a poll question. Yes, no, maybe. If my GRE scores come down, am I screwed? Was my decision to take the second attempt a wrong decision? That's the question here. Now the point that you need to understand is, I have had students who have tried to attempt the second time and unfortunately the scores have come down. Is it going to impact you? Answer is no. The reason I say no is because ETS gives you an option. You can choose which score to send to the college. The only thing that you need to understand is you can't decide to send the quantitative reasoning of the one test and the verbal reasoning of the other test. You have to choose any of the test and then send it across. So if it so happens that the first test you have done well, the second unfortunately after spending money and time you screw it up, go ahead and apply for the programs using your first score, and yes, ETS gives you that flexibility. In fact, college may not even know, I mean, you have a choice, that is, if you decide not to tell the college, they will not even get to know how many times you have actually given your GRE, alright? I am going to be stopping here. I have a few more questions which I would like to deal with it, but I'll do it at a later stage, because that basically pertains to how whether Trump is a good news or bad news. It pertains to what are the right profiles of people who should go to US, who should prefer Ireland, who should prefer Australia, blah 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 blah. Yes, very important questions, but something that can wait for some time later. Yes, you can also spread the word, and please do spread the word. Tell your friends who are in places where they can't generally go for a good brick and mortar training, or people who are working professionals and therefore they do have a bit of inflexibility when it comes to attending classes in brick and mortar mode. Future is all in the online space, and that is why in Conduira we are investing amazingly heavy in building this technology, ConduiraOnline. Our endeavor would be to take your feedback, both positive and negative, positive to pat our backs and negatives to beat our backs, to help us do well. I don't know how much you know about Conduira. Conduira is an organization where most of the top management basically comes from IITs and IIMs. Not that IITs and IIMs make a big difference, but the fact of the matter is, we have experienced what you are looking forward to right now. A taste of success. Our endeavor today is to provide you that. Believe me, I am a very strong believer in the fact that past is not a reflection of future. I have gone through those phases. Most of us come from middle class, lower middle class, with aspiration to go as high as we can, and that is what our vision is for our students as well. And yes, we will be improving with this on this technology basis, the feedback that you are given. We will be having 2 batches, both the weekday batch as is the weekend batch, which will help you improve. So if you are already attending classes elsewhere, so be it. There are quite a few people from Conduira who are basically also getting access to ConduiraOnline free of cost, yes, because you are our students anyway. So it's our responsibility to help you score as high as possible. I didn't leave a government job to go to a private sector and then leave a private sector to come and start my own education institution for fun. I am a very firm believer in the fact that money is beautiful and it's worth fighting for. But I also know one thing, making money is not easy. We have to work very hard to be the best to make money. But guess what? We have worked very hard to be the best. Go to our Facebook, learn a little bit more about us, me particularly as well, and you'll realize one thing. We deliver what we promise. And what we promise here is an experience. And provided you deliver on what you have to do, we are also promising you good results. So thank you so much.